Hello, it's Andrea from the Creative Dream Incubator, and this week for the Friday video, I've got something special for you. I am in Oakland, California at the Creative Juices Arts Intuitive Painting Studio. I'm spending a week here with my friend Chris Zydel. I'm doing intuitive painting with her, and then on my last day here, we're doing a workshop together called Gifts of the Shadow, Wild Creative Momentum. So for the weekly video today, actually, I invited Chris to come in with me, and we're going to talk about the gifts of the shadow. What we'd like to do really with this is pass on our love of doing the inner work. You know, I feel like it kind of gets a bad rap, and it's the thing that really frees you to go after your dreams, to be who you are here to be. So it's this conversation that I feel is really important. And I'm really thrilled to welcome Chris here so we can talk about it together. So here's Chris.
Hi, Chris. And this is Andrea. Cool. So
here we are. And we wanted to talk about shadow work, inner work, facing those things we don't want to face, resistance. Chris and I did 2 workshops together on resistance called Resistance RX.
We did.
And it was all about facing your resistance to whatever.
Right, exactly. Right. That's right. Whatever comes up that you, well, and it is that thing like in the creative process, that's something that you can be pretty much guaranteed is going to happen as you're going to encounter resistance and you're going to encounter the shadow, which is one of the reasons we want to talk about this.
Yeah, I was going to say, which is kind of the same thing, too.
It's the same thing, pretty much. There's that.
Yeah.
Right. There's 2 different names for the same thing.
It is. And sometimes people want to know, like, what's the difference between inner work and shadow work and resistance? And it's just, like, different ways of labeling and understanding the same thing.
Right.
I think sometimes, too, it's like we want to intellectually understand it.
Right.
Almost as a way of avoiding doing it.
Well, there's that. That's a very popular technique.
It is, right?
Very much so, yes.
Yeah, and so there's all this confusion about what is inner work. I think there's a lot of people out there kind of thinking they're doing it when they're not.
Yeah.
And it's like very tempting to want to avoid it all and to feel like you're doing it so you feel like you're above that. Right?
Yeah.
Right. Just because it's scary and uncomfortable.
Yeah. And inner work is, it is scary and uncomfortable. But it also takes you to your deepest joy and your deepest creative fulfillment and your deepest creative juicy energy. So, it has both things going for it.
It does. And I think it is the only way to really move forward with your creative dreams.
Yes. Right.
Now, Chris has I have a lot of experience. Chris has way more experience.
Just because I'm older. I'm old. And that's okay. That's actually a good thing.
But also, I spent 10 years actively in resistance and spiritual bypass, whereas I think Chris got started on the real work earlier in life. But I said all that just to say, I know I've never seen a case where anything other than shadow work was effective. And I'm wondering if Chris...
Oh, no. That is the thing, is that doing the shadow work is so effective in terms of becoming more alive, becoming more free, and just becoming more open to your creativity. So it's really hugely, powerfully wonderful to do the shadow work. And I know people get afraid of it, and the main thing that's scary about the shadow work is that it does involve feeling. That's part, so you can't do shadow work from your head. You can't think your way through shadow work. You can't decide your way through shadow work. It's really an embodied and deeply connecting to your soul and to your spirit and to your emotional experience. And so that's one of the things that really scares people about it, because it's also can be uncomfortable to do that work, because you have to feel things that are sometimes painful or difficult or just uncomfortable to feel. So, yeah.
Okay, what I find really tricky to talk about when I'm talking about inner work or shadow work is that we're not here to try to convince you. What I'm hoping for, and the reason why we put this workshop on, is more of an invitation to go more deeply into your own process. There's so much online about like, just think positive, just like, just do it, like, just get out there and like, you got this, go ahead, and like as though that's enough. And when that's not enough, it's not because like, there's something wrong with you or your dreams aren't possible or like, and any of that. It's just that that's not enough. Like, positive thinking and lots of encouragement and all that is great. And you also have to face the places in you where you are holding back.
Right.
That's the big thing I've found. So I've been on my creative retreat for almost a day now.
That's true. A whole day.
Almost a day. And this morning I noticed, and like the thing I love about going on retreat, and I'm going to link to Chris's website too, because she does the best retreats, I think. But one thing is that you take yourself out of your life and you look at things from a different perspective. And so this morning I spent a bunch of time journaling, and I already saw all these places where I'm holding back on going after what I really want. But I've been convincing myself I'm not. I've been telling myself I'm doing everything I can, and it's not me. It's not my fault that I don't have, you know. And suddenly I'm seeing, not that it's a matter of blame and fault, but I'm seeing just the simple fact that I'm holding back. And that's an example of the shadow work. Like, to get at that realization, I had to sit with all the self-doubt that I woke up feeling this morning.
Right.
So when we talk about the gifts of it, like, that's what we mean, that like, just because you feel self-doubt, you don't have to like positive think your way out of that. Another route is to actually feel it, because no feeling lasts forever, and underneath that is like a better access to your truth.
And sometimes your shadow is your truth, you know. So it's that whole thing where a lot of the things that we put into shadow are aspects of our being, things that we feel, things that we want, you know, ways that we, you know, kind of qualities that we have and ways that we want to express ourselves, that we have been told in different ways that there's something wrong with that or something wrong with us. You know, it's that whole thing about, okay, are you feeling like you're too much, or you're too big, or you're not enough, or, you know, you're just not acceptable. Like that these different aspects of you, which we're calling the shadow aspects of ourselves, aren't acceptable. So it's not acceptable to feel self-doubt, you know, for example, you know, like what Andrea was talking about. Or, you know, sometimes for people, it's not acceptable to feel as sad as you feel, or to feel as angry as you feel, or to feel as powerful as you feel, or I mean, there's all kinds of things, you know, to be as sensitive as you are. I mean, I just wrote an article the other day about that, you know, that there was a way that my sensitivity was something that I put into the shadow box in my life. Like, I had to hide that, and recognizing that actually reclaiming my sensitivity was a way for me to become more creative and for me to access my creative self. So, yeah. So that's what we want for you all. You know, we really want you to have all of the energy that is in your shadow. You know, because if you have things in the shadow, and what we mean by the shadow are things that you reject, or things that you deny, or things that you repress. And if you're always doing that, like rejecting and denying and repressing, all your energy is going into rejecting and denying and repressing, and not into creating. So, you know, one of the things that like will sometimes happen for me or in my classes or my workshops, where, you know, people will get in touch with maybe they're feeling a lot of grief around something, and they feel like it's too much, or they shouldn't be feeling that way, or being that sad is not, like, it's going to bum other people out or something. And so they pretend that they're not feeling that sad. And so they're not connected to their creative source because they're not connected to their sadness. For example, it could be anything. Yeah. And once they get in touch with that grief, then it frees up all this energy that then they can create from. And so that was, that's one of the big reasons Andrea and I wanted to do this workshop for you all, was to kind of get you started on that journey and to have you start to, in community, in a circle, with people where you could feel safe, to talk about that stuff, start to feel those things, and then to start to allow that to move so that you can become more creative again.
And it's amazing how much permission, because like as women, not that it's actually anyone is welcome at the workshop, but since we're women, we'll speak as women. It's like we don't have permission to feel how we actually feel a lot of the time.
Right.
So to see other people, even though this is an online workshop and they'll just type it, to see other people typing about how they're feeling is so liberating.
So liberating.
It's just like, oh, I'm in a room of other people who are feeling their actual feelings and who are allowed to feel angry, sad, confused, like whatever.
Whatever, right.
Excited.
Excited, yeah.
Just like
right.
space for, it's so liberating because the world around us is telling us not to do it all the time.
Exactly.
And it's just, I don't think we realize how much energy does go into repressing and denying. Just because I know for me, that was my way of being. So it's all I knew. So I didn't understand. Like, it's an incredible amount of energy that gets freed up, that you can use to make amazing things happen or just to do whatever you want. Right?
Exactly.
And you don't have to make amazing things happen. You can just be happier.
Yeah, right. Well, and again, there was, Andrea's here with me at the Creative Juice Arts studio, interior painting studio. And so we were, and I had a class this morning, and Andrea was painting with me.
It's amazing.
It was really fun. It's so fun to have you, as always. And so there were some other people here, and so one of the women was painting, and she had a lot of grief about a loss that she had experienced a number of months ago, and so she was not feeling like it was okay for her to feel as much pain and grief as she felt about that loss. And so she let herself have that here in the studio while she was painting. And she painted those feelings. And then from that place, there came this whole other opening into something that was really healing for her. I mean, it was just this powerful healing experience that she would never have gotten to if she hadn't allowed herself to connect with and express, what she was trying to repress. So, and so it's actually, I mean, this is the other thing about the shadow and doing the shadow work, is that people think it's just going to be horrible and painful and awful. And there's so much joy in it. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things we really want to communicate to you all. Freedom and joy. And it's like a shadow party. We want to invite you to the shadow party. And there's really something to that. There's something, even if you're crying, you can be just feeling that sense of like freedom and release and like, oh my God, thank God that I can do this. And thank God I can open again and not be so kind of shut down and contracted and trying to control something.
And also there are like infinite layers to who we are. And so what I've found is that in any workshop or thing that I've either attended or facilitated, you only go to the level that you're truly ready to go to. So like sometimes people are worried like they'll go too far. And there is like, because there's always more, like nobody finishes.
Well, there's that. That's really the truth.
So, so just to not be afraid of that, because I think that can stop us from doing any of the work. And it's okay to just do a tiny bit, right? And then a tiny bit more.
Yeah, and that's really important. That's what Andrea was talking about is so important, that it's kind of we can trust in how our soul wants to reveal itself, and we can trust in, I always think about how we have inside of us, we have an inner guidance system, we have an inner wise person, an inner wise woman, an inner wise man, and we have an inner healer. And that inner healer knows, what we need. And, we just might, like she was saying, we just might need a little bit, at this time, just to kind of begin to open the door and to just start the work. And that's enough. Mm-hmm. So, trusting that you have that, you do have that wisdom inside of you. That's really there. And that's like not a bullshit thing. That's a real thing. And so, we want to help you learn to connect with that and to trust that. Because that part of us doesn't want to hurt us, and it doesn't want, it really wants us to be more whole and more healed and more alive. And there's a process that we go through with it. And again, that process can really be baby steps. It's like, okay, we're going to just do this little bit, so, coming to the workshop, I mean, who knows what will happen for you if you come and join us, next week at the workshop. You might just open the door a little tiny crack into your shadow, and that'll be just plenty. Yeah. And it could be more than that. We don't know, you don't know. But we want to encourage you to trust that there's something inside of you that does know, and that will really, direct you into what needs to happen.
Yeah, and we're just like making space for the process.
Exactly.
We're not going to push you into something. That's really not how shadow work should work anyway.
No. Right, that's right. No, it doesn't work like that, right?
We shouldn't be telling you what to do.
Right.
We should just be making space for the process to happen. I always think of it as creating a structure, and then each person fills in that structure and with whatever their experience is.
Exactly, right, yeah. Yeah, so, we want to, in the workshop, we really want to kind of help people to have a different kind of relationship to the shadow, a different orientation, a different way of thinking about it. I mean, we're talking about some of the stuff here today, but we'll go into that more in depth when we do the workshop with you all. So, to have a different understanding about what the shadow is and what the shadow work is, and a different experience of that, and there's something, I mean, the other thing that I think is really important in doing shadow work, it's something that really works better in community, or works better in relationship. If you have a person or a circle that can really hold space for you while you're doing the shadow work, it allows you to go deeper because you feel held. Yeah. So that's one of the things that we both do in our work in general, and one of the things we'll be offering to you, in the workshop itself.
Yeah. So part of what was important for me in doing the Gifts of the Shadow while Creative Momentum is having this conversation online in a public space. So not necessarily just for people who are thinking of coming, or for sure that they're coming, or whatever, but for the creative community in general, to be putting these ideas out there, because there's just so much out there about spiritual bypass, just think positive, just believe in yourself, just keep going, and that's not the whole story. So we wanted to bring more of the shadow into the conversation. We want to encourage you to think about this on your own, where what kind of shadow work or inner work might be helpful for you, what kind of steps can you take that work for you in your life to help you kind of face these uncomfortable things, but ultimately liberating things.
Right.
Yeah, just like a great big permission slip to, permission slip, because it almost feels like we don't have permission to doubt ourselves or to be sad or whatever. We're supposed to just think positive and keep going, right?
Right.
And so, no, that's not how it works for real people.
Really support and reiterate everything that Andrea is saying. And we'd love to have you come to the workshop. I mean, that's
obviously.
For sure. Obviously. I mean, it's going to be really fun. I mean, that's the other thing. This work isn't just about being serious. I mean, it is. It's very deep and very powerful work. But, there is, because it's the creative process, there's there can be a playful element to it. And so, so we want you to come because it'll be fun for us to have you there. But this whole topic of the shadow, and what is the shadow, and what does it really mean to address it and work with it and deal with it, and its relationship to creativity. I mean, that was a really big piece of this for us in terms of the workshop, but just in terms of like a message that we just wanted to give you, is that creativity and the shadow are linked. They're very powerfully linked, and you can be more creative by doing your shadow work. So that's kind of
that's it.
That's it.
That sums it up in one sentence. You can be more creative by doing your shadow work.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
So thank you for watching. Thank you, Chris, for being here. This was awesome.
Thank you. It's really fun. So fun. Bye.